Hello, everyone, and welcome to our vlog for today, Waking Up to You. So let me ask you a question. Who are you? Now, you may say your name. You may say the job that you work at. You may say the title of that. You may say a label that either you have given to yourself or someone else has given to you. You may say that it is your story that you have lived through. You may say it is your past. You may say it is your future. You may say that it is your thoughts. You may say it's your emotions. But none of those things are really who you are. Either those things of what has happened to you, what you are projecting might happen to you, or who you'd like to become. That's your job. That's not who you are. That's what you do in the world. The label is not who you are. It's either what you've given yourself or what others have kind of given over to you, but that's not what you are. Not even your thoughts or your emotions are who you are. Those can either be reactions or responses to life situations that are unfolding. And a good majority of the time, if we're honest, a good majority of our thoughts are probably judgments about ourselves, others, situations. So those aren't really who we are. So the question is, who are we? What are we? And what we are in truth can be answered by actually asking ourselves another question. Now, when I ask this question, I don't want you to necessarily think about it too hard. Actually, I really don't want you to think about it at all, if possible. When I ask the question, just simply say the first answer that comes to your mind, either yes or no. That's it. Very simple. Are you in there? Just yes or no. Are you in there? Yes or no. That's it. And if you're watching a video like this, I can say that you most likely said yes. And that is who you are. You are that pure consciousness, that pure awareness that is part of source. That is what you are. You're not the labels, you're not anything else. You are simply consciousness. And of course, we have to use that word, we have to use that title, that label, because we're still here in the third dimension and we still need those symbols to help us. But in truth, all you are is pure consciousness, pure awareness. That is what you are. The Course in Miracles says, spirit am I, free of all limits, safe, healed, whole, innocent, and provided for, free to forgive and free to save the world. That's how it puts it. Or it also says, you are the holy child. And again, I'm going to use the word God. If God doesn't feel good to you, again, just substitute it with spirit or whatever your higher power is. But you are the holy child of God, free of all limits. Again, safe, healed, whole, innocent, and provided for in all ways, free to forgive and free to save the world. And that saying, it has been drilled into me. Like that is who you are. Now, what we want to be very aware of in that is that we don't want to necessarily make that another identity, which is what we might have a tendency to do because the ego loves to kind of put things in boxes and say, oh, okay, well, this is who I am now. So I am now awakened. I am now, I'm a spiritual seeker. I'm a this, I'm a that. And again, it starts to get into that mode of identifying itself with something. We are just pure consciousness. We are just pure awareness. You can't really make an identity out of that. It's just, okay, well, I'm consciousness. What else is there, right? So how can we really start to wake up to this reality that we are just consciousness. We are just the observer. We are just that awareness that is watching life unfold. Now, when you hear that, that ego mind is going to be like, oh, I just can't sit here and just watch the world. That's going to be so boring. Because I remember there was a book that we read in, I think it was like maybe fifth grade. And I think I'm not 100% about it, but it was like something about like the perfect book, or maybe it was like the perfect child. I don't remember. But what I do remember is that there was a part in the book where basically like the whole premise of it was this kid wanted to like be perfect, right? And so he finally reached like this pinnacle of perfection in whatever way, shape, or form. And he was sitting in a movie theater and just like sipping his tea. And like he was like, that's perfection. And I remember being like, and of course, the book's like, oh, well, that's boring. That's not the way that you should be because everyone's the same, da 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 type of thing, embracing uniqueness. But I remember sitting there and being like, oh my gosh, that sounds terrible. Like just to sit there and do nothing and just watch. But that's really what we are. Now, that doesn't mean that we don't have an interaction with the world. Okay. That's not what it means. So if that starts to come up and be like, well, I'm just the observer, I'm just watching, then, life is pointless. No, you are here to awaken to that. And believe you me, there are lots of different layers of that we have to awaken to. And what are the things that we need to awaken to this? Well, we need first to be present. And what does it mean to be present? To be here, to be now. Then we need awareness. And that awareness is merely us saying, okay, well, I am noticing, this thought, this emotion, whatever it is. So just being aware in the present moment. And then we need one more little ingredient, which is discernment, to discern that which is coming from our ego and which is the truth of who we are. Now, one great way to begin to discern that, and the way that we can kind of combine being present, being aware, and discernment all together in one fun little package is with the tool or the technique developed by Ramana Maharshi, which is who is the I? And you can use that when it comes to, when you're feeling triggered. And the way that it can work is, let's just say, for example, that Norm, you're a very nice person. You always try to do your best to be, as nice as you can to people. And let's say someone comes up and says, you're a jerk, right? And so that's it. Like you feel triggered. Maybe you're feeling like really defensive. Maybe you're feeling sad. Maybe you're feeling upset. That's okay. This tool is not to deny those feelings. That is merely to say, okay, I'm feeling this. Let me tune into it. Let me become present with it. So that means you're feeling it. So let me become present with it. Okay, so this person called me a jerk, and I am aware that that has brought up some emotions here, some maybe inward facing emotions or what we might call negative emotions. Okay, so we're aware of that. Then with that awareness, we can say, okay, well, who is the I that's really upset by this? And is it the spirit within me, which is just pure consciousness, pure awareness? Do you think pure consciousness and pure awareness is necessarily caring that someone calls it a jerk? I don't think so. So we can then be like, ooh, okay, I can discern because remember, judgment is saying this is good, this is bad. Discernment is merely it is this or it is that, or this is for me, this is not. Another way of putting it. So you can be like, okay, well, I'm noticing this coming up and I'm noticing these emotions. And as I'm noticing this reaction, because that's another big key that we can kind of take away, is that the ego is very reactive. It's always going to react to things. While the spirit, on the other hand, our consciousness, our awareness is very responsive. So reaction is ego, responsiveness is spirit or consciousness, that true us. And so just using that tool can begin to awaken you to the true you, to the truth of who you are. And it's just maybe you take 3 days and you just try it out. You don't have to be perfect at it. You don't have to get the right words. The words aren't important. What is important is the intention that you have when you are using that tool. It's like, okay, so who is the I? So who is the I that's upset right now? Who is the I that is reacting to this right now? I'm discerning, it's my ego. Okay, well, that's not me. So now we're kind of, if you want to take it one step further, we can be like, okay, well, that's not me. That may be my old story. That might be my old way of thinking, whatever it is. That might be my judgment about myself. However you want to look at it, we want to begin to disassociate from that story or to forgive ourselves and simply be like, okay, you know what? I am willing to forgive myself. I forgive myself for believing that this judgment I have about myself is the truth. Or I forgive myself for reacting to that. And again, it's not about punishment and it's not about like, oh, I'm such a bad person. We're forgiving ourselves and therefore giving ourselves compassion. We're being compassionate with ourselves and being like, okay, like I can see this. I see this story that's kind of playing out, and I don't want that anymore. So I'm willing to forgive myself. I'm willing to say, you know what, that's not me. That is merely, this story or, my ego's reaction to this. I acknowledge it, I forgive it. And then what we can ask ourselves, this is kind of like again, another part of that tool, if you're willing to do it for 3 days, would then be how would spirit respond to this? Or how would God respond to this? How would Jesus? How would Mother Mary? How would the universe? How would my guides? How would unconditional love? However, how would my divine presence? How would my inner being? You're just asking, how would my inner being or how would my inner presence, my higher power, however you want to look at it, respond to this? And that's all you're asking. You don't have to know because, see, again, here's where the ego might come up and be like, oh, well, you're on a spiritual quest for, to awaken the truth of who you are. And you just bit off that person's head. That's not very spiritual of you, is it? That you're just such a bad person now. Naughty, naughty, naughty. That's not what this is for. It's just to acknowledge and to be aware and to realize it and say, okay, I acknowledge it. I forgive myself. And now I'm willing to say, okay, well, spirit, the truth of me, however you want to put it, real me, how would you respond to this? Because in our society, it's kind of like rote, you got to have an answer. You got to have an answer right here, right now. If you don't have an answer right here, right now, well, then that's it. We're just going to leave you behind because you're just not moving fast enough because we're just go, 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 go. And this tool is giving you an opportunity to really take that step back and be like, you know what? I don't want to answer right now because I am aware that I'm not going to be answering you from a very nice place or from the highest place that I could or from a loving place. And again, if you do react, that's okay. We're not judging ourselves. We're merely going to forgive ourselves. And then we're going to have that awareness. We're going to be like, okay, now I can be aware of that. Now it's in my consciousness. I can see, where that story is coming from or where that reaction is coming from. That's it. So that is just a simple way that you can begin to wake up to you, wake up to your pure consciousness, wake up to your divine awareness, your inner being, your inner presence. And all it takes is number one, of course, a willingness. You have to be willing to want to do that. And then number two, it takes being present in the moment with our awareness and discernment. Those things, being present, being aware, and being discerning. And there you go. And you got it. You're on your way. So I thank you for joining me. I thank you for being here. If you do decide to use this who is the I, and you do use it for 3 days, I would love to hear what you got from it. What did you notice? What did you become more aware of? Is there a certain trigger, a certain story that you were like, wow, I never realized that? And if so, I would love to hear about it. You can write it in the comments below. And I look forward to hearing from you. Bye for now.